Oh, she's already in there.
Okay, we are good.
Right,
Yep, we're ready to
call
call.
the meeting to order at 6:05. David, can you have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mary Ann Banks,
Here.
Natalie Drozda,
Here.
Andrew Grove, Pat King. Here. Tom Langston. Amanda Rost,
Here.
Tom Sufchuk. Mike Wallen
Here.
and Pat West here. Okay.
Number one on the agenda is the meeting minutes from the May 15th, 2024 meeting. Is there any questions or discussions, or is there a move to a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to move to 3 minutes.
Second.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? David, we'll approve the minutes from May 15th.
Thank you.
Number two, citizen comments.
We have, let's do our in-person first.
Okay.
Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak.
My name is Scott Gagliardi, 38 Shady Drive West, Mount Lebanon, Pennsylvania. We're here to discuss the pickleball courts at Middlecroft in a positive light.
Yes, and my name is Paul Kitt, and I'm at 2325 High Oak Drive. Want to start off by saying we love the pickleball courts. They're fantastic. They're such a great social and athletic and recreational facility that gets used. Has anybody been at the courts from this board yet?
Yes.
So you know how nice they are. Did you see how busy they were and everything like that? Some of the things that we want to bring up are just safety things. Days like today, 95 degrees today, we'd like to suggest for the first safety thing, an awning over the walkway, where the walkway goes down and then cuts back. There's two fences, one on the street and one on the actual pickleball courts. Coincidentally, they're both at the same height, which is plenty of height to put a awning to give us shade on a day like today. Because today I just got done playing, there's no place to hide. I mean, there really isn't, especially because the sun, when you're standing and looking at the courts, the sun is right there and it's setting there. So it's in the afternoon, in the hottest part of the day, it is right at you. So we'd love to, how would I state this? We would like to propose that an awning for safety reasons be put on that court. And it doesn't have to be fancy. I'm sure aesthetically you guys would want to take a look at something, but it doesn't have to be anything over a couple $100 to get the thing, because there are old people there, there are young people there, there are old people there. When it gets hot, there's gonna be an issue. Someone's gonna have a problem, but they probably won't stop until it's too late. So if we could get someplace to kind of have a refuge of shade, that would be wonderful. The second safety item that we would like to address would be the courts right now are painted black. So I would think that the air temperature is 90, 95. The court the temperature of the black courts has got to be 110, 115, maybe 120 degrees. I mean, it's really hot on the feet. I don't know if anybody's played, people who have visited from the board, have they played on a hot day, but you will notice it on your feet. So, I mean, suggesting maybe Mount Lebanon colors, blue and, blue surface, maybe a green exterior, and maybe gold lines or maybe white lines, because the balls are usually yellow or gold. But other than, those are the two safety features. The next one's kind of a luxury item, but if you can visualize the pickleball sitting, the area before the waiting area where the sidewalk goes down and comes across, and then there's that grass area between the upper sidewalk and the lower sidewalk. What we're suggesting is our third suggestion, and we might stop there because I don't want to overburden everybody. But the third suggestion would be an area, instead of having that grass where if it gets wet, someone's gonna step on that and they're gonna slip and fall. I would like to suggest maybe putting a tiered step set up in there. You could just cut into the ground, put some paver stones in there. That might be one way. Concrete obviously would be the other way, or doing some kind of decking or something like that, depending on expense. But that would serve as a way to step down to the racket, where you put your rackets. So it could use as, you could be used as steps, and it also could be used as seating, which is also desperately needed right now. And all of that would be under the awning that we're proposing. I measured it from the street fence top to the pickleball fence top. It's about 24 feet. And then if we could do it, like get a 20 by 20 awning, a 20 by 30 awning, we'd have enough room to put bungees on it, secure them, and then give us some shade. But we love the courts. They're wonderful. I've never, I mean, I've been on a lot of courts. I've never seen so much use and so many happy, young and older, mature people laughing and just moving their bodies healthily.
It is a community. I mean, it brings people together. I always say Americans don't hang out anymore, and this is an opportunity where you're seeing people of all ages, all creeds come together, talk. It really is, and this isn't just us. You see it there. Anybody that drives by, it's just a community. So yeah, I think it would be. And there's a lot of people that aren't from Mount Lebanon that come there, and so I think that's good. You got people coming into Mount Lebanon, and that's, they're spending money at the gas stations and, buying stuff and drinks and whatever. So I think there's some economic impact as well, so.
Yeah, wonderful. Great job, guys. We really appreciate the courts.
You were guys forefront in developing them over most places. You're one of the first.
But someone must not have gone to science class when they painted those courts black. That's all I'm saying. But other than that, they're wonderful. And the lights are great.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. You hit it right on the nose, 5 minutes.
That's it. That's what we aim to do.
We've had complaints about noise and the hours. Any comments you guys would make as to the hours they're open till?
Well, if they're open till 10, I mean, I could understand if they were shut down at 9, a little earlier. I don't think there's as many people at 10. I think you get maybe the younger kids. I could understand that, but one of the other ideas that we had to cut down on that noise was windscreens. That gets a little bit, I don't know what the cost of them are, but if you put them around, that's gonna cut down significantly on that noise.
Yeah, windscreens would be nice. They wouldn't need to do all 4 sides, but at least 2 of the 4 sides would
That
be
face the
helpful.
residents.
Yeah, but that could cut down on some noise, but it's,
I would hate to see a couple of complaints from residents, and I appreciate it. I understand where they're coming from, but you'd be really, taking away a community, because it really is. I mean, we're on apps. There's hundreds of us on these apps, and everybody's getting to know each other, go there. It's a great way to get outside, he said athletic. So I appreciate the complaints, and I think there's a middle ground we can hopefully, but hope there's no, detriment to, restricting the hours significantly or something like that.
We're gonna move on to Diane Brown. Diane, I'm gonna unmute you here.
oh, okay, could I have one question before we hit? So we're here, we put this on the agenda. What action, if any, can we expect from our attendance and putting this on the agenda?
I think that later in the meeting, we're gonna discuss some budget expansion, so the board could consider requesting something of that nature. I will just point out that we do have a Parks Parks Master Plan. It was recently completed, so we do try to follow that plan that had extensive resident input. So, I mean, that's, and all comments are considered, so it'll just be a matter for the board to consider.
Would it be way outside the lines? These are, and again, we would sign anything you'd want anybody to sign. The awning is a very simple thing to do. And we have some very talented, mature adults that could put it up. I understand the legalities and all that, but if the budget does not fit, the awning is the most important. I mean, there's just no place to hide. It's 95 degrees. You get off a court, you're hot. You're trying to cool down, whatever. So I mean, I would like to suggest that we would be, I mean, more than happy to not only purchase, get the bungee cords, but also put it up. And I'm speaking purely for myself. I don't know if anybody else would want to join, but I know I could definitely get it taken care of.
That's something you could discuss with us separately, if it doesn't make the budget. I
Yeah.
mean, we could chat about that.
That'd be great. I'd be
Okay.
more than happy to give my phone number and.
Okay, I mean, I'm the recreation director, Phil's the parks and, facilities coordinator.
And
We're on the website, you can contact us.
Your name is
David Donnell.
David Darnell. Dave, I have to say this because I have a Bachelor of Science degree from Slippery Rock University in Community Leisure Services, and this is the only time I've ever been able to say that where it actually may have some pull. So I'm proud to say that.
Well, thank
There you
you, and
go.
thanks for your comments.
No problem.
Is there a group or association you guys that you pay dues into, or how would you fund something? Just take up a collection amongst yourselves?
We've got so many professionals and retired people. I mean, I saw that on a site, it's like $200 is the 20 by 30 awning. Has rivet holes and everything all around it. It probably, with that plus the bungee cords, probably $300 to do the thing. You know,
Township has requirements that would make an issue, but.
I don't want to digress too much into this issue. If we're gonna talk about it, it'll be formally added to the agenda for a future meeting. We do have another commenter online, so I'd like to move on to them, please.
what do we do? Do we leave?
Yeah.
Or-
You guys can talk, John.
Okay.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
All right, take care. Thanks again. We appreciate it.
Hi, Diane, do you hear us?
I do. Hi, it's me again.
Please, state your name and, address in the municipality.
Diane Brown, 30 North Meadowcroft. Right across from the pickleball courts.
Okay.
Yeah, just a couple things. First of all, as we mentioned last month, the sound. We hear it from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and it's constant. And the residents here, it's loud. So if you have any way of preventing the sound, that would be perfect. I don't know if a windscreen would do it, but anything would help. Plantings, trees, bushes, I don't know. Another problem is the parking, again, on our street. When everybody plays, there's at least 24 to 48 cars here at any one time. We're gonna have a neighbor moving next week, and they can't, I mean, we're gonna have to block off areas just to get a moving truck in there. We can't unload things when we're, shopping or whatever, because we don't have a garage. We park across the street in the parking lot that we pay for parking. And another thing too is pickleball players, they do park in that parking lot too. They feel that it's free parking, so they can park there instead of when they can't find anything on the street. And it's not, we're residents, we pay monthly fees for that, so. And I know a lot of money was spent on the pickleball, tennis, to begin with. I can't see, you spending more money just to appease some people that don't want to play in the hot sun. There's a playground there, there's ball field. None of them have shelter from the heat. So I don't know why the pickleball people have to have some kind of shelter. But again, we would like, the main thing is right now to get it, the lights turned off at 9 o'clock. So that's all.
Okay, thank you for your
Thanks, Diane.
comments.
I don't know if anybody's been there to see, what's going on, but something needs to be done about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No other community.
Okay,
Chairman's report.
Amanda, you have a report?
I do not have anything to report.
Community liaison report? I think Greg is here, or not Greg, but yeah, I guess that would be Greg.
Commission liaison report, commissioner's not here. So.
David, anything that you could share? I mean, obviously not speaking for him, but is there anything worth communicating from a commissioner standpoint?
I can't really speak for Craig. I mean, Phil and I will have a few things to
Okay.
report on.
Perfect. We'll go right to staff then.
Okay. Phil, you or me?
Yeah, sure. It's in your handout. It's also in the meeting folder for this date, if you want to look back through or anything. The parks and field sign is moving along well. We got a prototype one, stuck it up down at middle. I think the size is right, looks good. We left it there for a little bit. On the flip side of it, it has another park name so that we can make sure that our sizes are right and see how it looks in orientation as we go. So I have about 3 more places that are question marked, whether it's gonna be fence or sign. Where as soon as we hammer them out, we'll return all the sign proofs back to the company. They'll start production. Public Works will install when we receive them. So that's
Phil, is that secured funding for, is that
our rollover of 20K from last year. When we went out and got pricing across 5 different vendors, we came in at 19.8.
Okay.
So we're able to fund the entire message.
and then your crews will install them? Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so it's basically, it's fully funded.
Fully funded at this first phase of simple ID to let you know which park and field you're at. Over on the CIPN, we'll touch on this, but that does take some staff time to get those pages ready for manager, finance, commission to review. So those are in, they were due on the 14th. And they speak for your recommendations. There's text in there. You'll see each one says this was ranked number 1, number 2. So that language is in that document as staff and commission review it. They do hear what you're saying. Over at Iroquois, we added some seating down by the basketball court. No benches to be found. We're getting some down there. Also off the side near the play areas as well. Makes it better for mowing, aesthetics, and that's kind of a standard. We've been going park by park trying to do this in. Over at Main Park, we got our warranty bench from a donor one that had a coating kind of coming off it. Those people pay a lot of money to keep their loved ones remembered, so we make sure we keep up on them. We added a asphalt path. Any of you use the pool that goes from the back of Seymour Field up to the pool, or path that goes up to the pool, tied that into a stormwater inlet. That way we can capture some runoff and, we're not trying to chase that down by 4th of July to get a safe route up there for everybody. Over at Bird, got one of the fountains on down at the field. The other one, we have to repair a water line that is running literally through the middle of the woods. So that'll be fun, but we'll get into it and get it on. Over at Rob Hall, we had quite about 3 guys there for almost a month. We installed a set of 50 new steps that kind of link one side of Rob Hollow to the other. Tied them into the hillside. It'll be a long-term fix. There was a scout project there before. Definitely did its job, but it started pushing out. We added a landing where you can take a rest and a handrail incorporated the whole way down. So we'll follow up with seeding the areas we disturbed with a kind of a native slope mix, make sure that we keep that area nice. It is one of the nicer passive parks we have. Over at the small parklet, those trails got pruned. They encroach pretty quick with that mix that's along there right at the end of the public works yard. A lot of poison ivy treatments right now. Feel free to shoot me an email when you see it, where you see it. I get quite a bit of them, surprisingly, and they're usually along paper street trails, leading into parks. Behind the pool path was a nasty one last year we knocked out. Down at the fields, got our second fertilizer app in, overseeded a lot of the Goldmouth areas at Brafferton and Berg. The Brafferton, we opened that up on the 3rd of June, meaning the renovated infill portion that got topsoil seed, that's now in play. So working with the coaches to rotate field orientations so that we can finally rest some areas that were just pinned down by space limitations, So I know everyone down there that may use that field are has a little one down there running around. That's a nice big chunk of flat space, which is not common in Mount Lebanon, that we got back to being functional for us. Over at Bird, got the irrigation system fired up this past week in anticipation of this week. Changed a couple heads out. We'll finish Dixon up this week as well. And started to swap out bleachers, over at Dixon and Middle with ones that actually have the pass-through protection past the third row, the chain link around the back for fall protection. That was something that kind of was turned into a dinosaur on the budget list, and we just incorporated into the operating and chipped away at it. So we're building them off site so that we don't leave a hazard or just a mess of nuts and bolts and parts down there for games at night. So that system's been working well. One just kind of magically shows up there and the other one goes away. Like always, if you see something, let me know outside of this meeting. Email, call. The more eyes, the better. They're very helpful. I never take anything to heart that anyone's being hard. We all want the same thing here. So see something, let me know. But that's it for now.
Great, a lot of great work. Please acknowledge your crew for what they're doing. Appreciate it. David?
Okay, all recreation facilities and summer programs are staffed and up and running. We have a July 4th celebration in a couple of weeks, so we are all gearing up and planning for that event. And we have the fall field scheduling meeting planned for July 10. The invitations will be issued shortly.
Great. Can you just, I know we had talked at the last meeting, and just curious for the group's benefit, how the change at the tennis center is going with the full-time.
Excellent. Darren Rosso and our new full-time maintenance guy are doing a great job. Feedback has been great, including from the Indoor Tennis Association, who has been a wonderful partner as they have concluded business and we're transitioning the indoor side of things. It's just really, really exciting to see the changes taking place. And you know, it's showing in the court conditions, it's showing in attendance. I saw a former commissioner there yesterday who flagged me down, and her child was just arriving for a youth clinic, and she pulled out her phone and wanted to show me the great welcome letter and directions to her court that was assigned to her child. And she said, "We never had this before." And I didn't even know Darren was doing that. So just really good things are happening. It's very exciting. One piece of the puzzle was to review the need for the addition of a full-time tennis pro. That was recommended by the USTA, recommended by Indoor Tennis. And that will ultimately be recommended by Darren and myself as well as
Hank
part of
stepped down,
as part of the budget process.
he retired.
Yeah, Hank is retired. So great things are happening in tennis.
One court area is being dug up now. Is that routine maintenance that you?
No, that's full-scale reconstruction.
Yeah.
All layers down to the stone screenings and the subsurface irrigation system.
Is that routine maintenance over certain many years, or how's?
Well, what happens to the Harcher surface
We
is
talked about it last time.
it gets compacted. You know, fine materials takes away from that porosity, the ability for it to irrigate and to drain. And then just the irrigation system itself, that court is probably something like 45 years old, something in that range. It would not drain or irrigate barely at all anymore. And the same is happening to the final two bubble courts, which will be on the CIP schedule for next year. Hopefully they get funded. So it's just old age. That's really it. I mean, we have a contractor come in and top dress, scarify and top dress, put down new lines on all 15 courts every year. But those indoor courts are a special maintenance consideration just because of the year-round play, no freeze and thaw, no weather exposure. They just get hammered. Plus, they all have subsurface irrigation, which is more expensive, more difficult to maintain. Whereas an outdoor court, not under bubble, just has a surface irrigation system. You know, we have sprinkler heads and turn them on and we irrigate from the top down. So subsurface is great. There's never any downtime for watering. You can keep playing. It's just more expensive and a little more challenging to control. And, you know, when you replace it, it's a lot of money. So
Anything else?
that's all for me. Thanks.
Great. Subcommittee reports.
I don't think we have
We haven't.
it yet.
Okay. Old business? So we have the field census study update. Amanda, anything to add there?
I just added the report that we put together, the final version, to the share drive. David, I didn't know where to put it. I put it under sports advisory board folder.
Okay.
So it's there. If there's somewhere else you want to put that, you're welcome to move it to have it make sense to people, but I thought that was a good place to start. And then I think we're waiting kind of for not a hole in the agenda, but a lighter agenda to really kind of go over that or answer questions. But people on the board can take a look at that report. And then if next month or the month after is a little bit lighter, when some of the budget stuff is done, we can answer questions about that and dive into that a little deeper. We just don't want to make the meetings last 3 hours. So we're trying to pick a meeting that has a little bit less stuff on the agenda.
Yeah, and Amanda, just since you brought up where to put files, I'll just mention this now. What I'm trying to do is when we initially add something to the agenda, it'll be in that meeting folder. Every meeting has its own folder. I'll have all the documents that you would get for that meeting, at least initially. Then as it becomes clear that something is gonna be a recurring thing, I'll probably give it its own folder, like pickleball, for example, is probably gonna get its own folder after tonight. I'm sure more things will come there, but we will continue as new things come on. They'll be in your meeting folder for that night. I'm not gonna put pickleball in your folder every single meeting just because it's on the agenda unless it's something new. The same would go for something like the citizen proposal for converting a parklet into a park. It's in the meeting where it was brought up. If it's gonna be a recurring theme, it might get its own folder down the road. That's just kind of my philosophy, and if we want to organize it differently, we can do that too. Just let me know if you're like, hey, I can't find stuff, we need a folder, we'll take care of it.
So David, maybe we want a folder for the field census study, because I think that will be something we probably continue to talk about.
Yeah, agreed, and we can do that.
Okay, thanks. I didn't feel like I had the authority to make a folder, so I just added the file.
We got you.
Thanks, Amanda. The pickleball lights and noise complaints, we've heard from 3 citizens regarding that. David, the one thing I wanted to ask, and maybe from a board conversation standpoint, is there or should there be a formal recognition of citizen complaints from someone, either a board member or from the township, that we are acknowledging what was shared? Not necessarily stating that we're doing anything, but just I think people like to be heard. Whether it would be appropriate to send a letter recognizing their time and the comments that were made towards the concern that we would address it. I didn't know how that would be felt with the rest of the group, but I think it's important for citizens to know that their time is important, and when they share,
Yeah.
we're providing feedback.
So this is where the document that's in the SharePoint site from the first meeting in April, like I said, I'm gonna make a pickleball folder, and we'll put this document in there where it will live in the future. So I have been documenting here each complaint or comment. Actually, there's 2 in here that are pro, basically leave it, or just pro pickleball in general. So we have documented emails, the dates they came in. So we were talking last meeting about, how many more did we get? I don't have it sorted by date, but I could do that. That might make it easier. So you can see I'm tracking all that information here for you.
I see the one comment about no play before 8 a.m. Are the courts locked, or are they always open if there's light to play?
The park has all our parks have an official opening and closing time. I can tell you the closing time for this park is 10 p.m. I don't, off the top of my head, remember the official opening time by ordinance. I think it has an official time. It might be 7. I don't know, but it's in chapter 11 of the municipal code, Parks and Recreation. So we could easily look that up. I honestly don't know if there's much activity, before, like during the school year, before the school day starts. It's possible, and it's also possible in the summer, they're starting at 6 a.m. I don't know, but I haven't heard much, if anything, about the starting time. I think we're mainly looking at the closing time is the primary issue.
That we would control by lights off, kind of.
Right. And a comment came in just today, yesterday. I got it today, but it was dated yesterday. In favor of leaving courts lit until 10 p.m. Courts are a positive for the neighborhood and help deter unwanted activity. So interesting that a different perspective. I could go into more details about what unwanted activities it was, but just suffice it to say that they were very positive about having a good, healthy activity going on instead of some of the alternatives that could be going on.
Has there been a history of like youth hanging out late at night on these courts?
According to this person, yes. Like we'd have to ask the police department, what kind of calls they get. They document all that. I personally couldn't speak to that. I know I've not had a bunch of complaints regarding that.
It does kind of fall in line with the two gentlemen that spoke earlier. I think they mentioned that after 9 o'clock, they don't think there's a lot of adults, but they did say, I believe they said that there were some sort of more teenage crowd coming in later at night. And so that would kind of fall in line with that comment.
As an advisory board, do we like pass a motion that we're in favor of doing something or what? This has come up 3 times now, every meeting.
And if this group, if there was a motion to do something, that would be the way to start it, so-and-so wants to make a motion to do X, lights out at 9 or something like that. Then it would be voted on, and if it is, the motion carries, it would be recommended to the commission. If it doesn't carry, then it's a dead issue and there's, it's done.
I'd like to make a motion that we make a decision on this and that we recommend turning the lights out at 9 o'clock. I think it's fair to the residents that live there and I think it's the right thing to do. That's what I would want in my neighborhood, I think.
So I think before, would it be safe to have the current code reviewed, just determine what it is? If we're gonna make a motion, if it's 7, we'd go to 8. Would it make sense to look at the current code that applies to that court service for the group to have the complete understanding of what is the current permitting, the current requirements, and then have that, if we're gonna make a change, I think we would make it across the board. 8 o'clock, if it was 7 o'clock, move it to 8 or 9.
When you say across the board, different parks have different.
Well, I'm just saying from that standpoint of that, knowing that it's not gonna go to every park, but that specific location, if we were to make a proposal, we would wanna know what is the current.
I thought we said it was 10 o'clock. What is the lights out?
And actually now I'm starting to second guess myself. I know the lights go out at 10, but I'm thinking in the back of my mind, it might actually, closing time is 10:30, I believe. So I wanna just retract that and
I think
say,
it would be worth.
I believe it's 10:30.
I think it would be worth making sure we understand what is the actual posted restrictions for that first, and then obviously, then we would be able to make a motion to alter the times at that service.
At the last meeting too, we sort of discussed, I think one of the reasons we delayed taking any action was kind of wanting to understand what was going to happen over the summer. Now that school is out, is it more crowded? And also, like, if it's lighter than past 9 p.m., you can go ahead and turn the lights out, but that's not going to stop people from playing on it past that, especially if the park is technically still open. So I think that's why we kind of delayed waiting to see what the summer was like. We didn't get a chance to ask the Ms. Brown that had called in what it's been like in the summer, but it seems like still as crowded as ever. Because to me, I would say, instead of just flat out lights out at 9, I would be interested in sort of a compromise about doing that on weeknights maybe and not on weekends, or summer versus when school's in season. I think there could be some flexibility there. The other thing I wanted to mention is parking. I don't know what signs are posted in that parking lot, but if those people are paying to park and people are parking illegally, is there something we can do by like contacting the Mount Lebanon police and asking them to get people there? Try to put a watch on that. That seems like a pretty easy fix. If people are parking illegally in a parking lot, they don't need to be parking in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the right thing to suggest there. I don't know that the police are gonna patrol that park looking at a parking lot if they don't have complaints. I mean, I think if
Yeah.
there's a complaint about parking, you call 911 and the police respond. I don't know that they're gonna patrol looking for as a routine procedure. And I'm not the police chief, so I'm just speculating here a little bit.
Sure.
So Amanda, if it's agreeable, Phil, maybe you and I can connect, and we can go down and document the signage that's there. We can look at the code and we can reach out to determine if, to have all the facts and then bring it to the group for a discussion in terms of what would be recommended.
Yeah,
I thought it was interesting that the two reps weren't too concerned about an earlier lights out time.
Yeah.
I mean, they proactively said that, so.
I'd also want to know a little bit more about like where in proximity to the courts are these residents that, and, just kind of look at it a little bit, take a little deeper dive into it before we kind of make a decision on it, in all fairness to everyone. But, if it is, real concern with the noise, then, maybe we need to look at ways to kind of mitigate some of that, but, or how many residents haven't spoken up, I don't know, we just kind of don't know yet, so.
It's a pretty full list of people commenting, it seems
It
like.
is.
So I guess, so if that works, we can do some research and we can share that in advance of the next meeting, and then at that time, we can make the decision based on fact. Or make a motion based on fact. Does that work? Okay.
So what are we gonna do? Is somebody gonna
Well,
investigate or what's?
if Phil's agreeable, I mean, I can do it, or, I'm happy to work with Phil or the police department to go down and document signs and document what are the codes associated with that area and look at the addresses
Exactly.
of where people are calling with the complaints, and happy to do that, David.
Okay, and just back to Amanda's comment, she wanted to know about summer usage. Diane Brown is still in the meeting, if the chair would like to recognize her and ask that question.
I think it's appropriate under the topic that we're discussing too. Give her 5 minutes.
Grab her hand there and see if you can.
We a little lead lag, but should
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm looking at a sign from my sunroom. It says Meadowcroft Park, hours daily, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
I'm gonna
That's
bet
been there-
that is, not in accordance with the ordinance.
Okay, that's been there for 47 years that I've been here, so.
Well, then to Tom's point, we do want to look at the signage out there.
Yeah.
Because if it's inaccurate, we should definitely replace it.
Do you have any other questions? I'm looking at the list. There's a lot more people I know that responded about no, and I have to find out why they're not on this list. Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah, the list contains everyone that was forwarded to me by the commissioner, so.
Okay,
That's
well.
what I have.
Okay. And then parking, there is signage that, it's private parking and you'll be towed. That's all. Any other questions I can answer?
People towed from that lot?
Pardon me?
Are people being towed from that lot that are?
Well, no, I'm not gonna call up and tow somebody, but it's like, we get tired of running down to the courts. They can have a sign at the court saying, please do not park in the adjoining lot. It's private parking. That would be the simplest thing, to put a sign up.
Well, if there's signs in the parking lot that say it's private parking and those don't do any good.
Should be enough.
No, I'm saying at the pickleball courts, put a sign. If
Yes,
you
but they're parking in that lot, so.
Yeah, they've already ignored one sign, so they're just gonna ignore another. is what-
Okay, well, I know on the
To
website,
me, I think if you get someone towed, word spreads and they stop parking in there. I think you kind of have to have a consequence to your actions to get people to stop.
well,
This is Thomas Upchuck. A question for Ms. Brown. Are
Yes.
there folks who are paying for the parking there? Is there something that you stick on your mirror or what have you to?
no, we don't. It's like from our house down to the corner of Edward, we all pay for a parking space. And they're numbered. And they all say private, you know. The people ignore it because they think it's part of the basketball and pickleball court.
Maybe,
That's all.
but. well,
Because the reason is they can't find any parking on the street, so that's the easiest place to be, you know.
Ms. Brown, could you tell us if you think there's any different usage patterns in the summer versus the school year?
No, it seems like their pickleball people are there all year round. They were even there on Christmas morning, so
Good for
they
them.
played in the snow, they played in the sleet, they're there all the time, so.
Has the late night playing increased since schools let out, like the sort of 8 to 10 PM?
No, it's all the same, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you very much.
I mean, it's a unique situation for sure. I don't know how the decision was made by who to put them in there, and if they took into consideration the people who live there and the residents. Survey the residents or not. Maybe they didn't, but there's definitely an impact to the residents. But there's also a lot of pros and cons. And I don't know why this is all of a sudden dumped into our plate. Who made this decision and who put these courts in there?
Well, the municipality made the decision to put courts in there, but the commission asks this board, one of their responsibilities is to advise the commission on usage of parks, so.
Did they take into consideration the neighborhood, the residents who live there when they put these courts in?
Yeah, I would imagine they did, yeah.
I think they weighed it also against the hundreds of people that use the courts every day. I think
Yeah, I
that's what
think
it comes
that's a
down to the
small list.
situation.
I do think that list is
It's a small list relative to the number of people using the courts. That's not to mean that you ignore what they have to say and don't try to come up with a compromise. But the battle cry, let's call it, for pickleball courts in Mount Lebanon was very loud for a very
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah, it's a
That's
small
why the
list.
courts are there.
There's probably 400 or 500 people that are for the courts versus 11 complaints. I mean, it's a unique situation. I don't know the answer.
Well, it's a national dilemma. I mean, it's every,
Popularity.
yeah, it's every pickleball court in America unless it's in the middle of nowhere with no one around to hear it. It's everywhere. I mean, you could Google pickleball noise and get a zillion articles. This is not unique to Mount Lebanon. It's a dilemma,
It's
to be
unique.
sure.
It's unique in that it just got here and
It's,
that
it's unique to us.
on that street.
No, I'm not arguing with you on that point.
So
Paul.
David, this is I wouldn't say use an extreme case, but it's definitely one that's highlighted over anything else. Do you think we look at this and create some structure under Amanda's, guidance and approval that when we get these types of concerns, that there is an acknowledgement back to the citizen within the community that I mean, this warrants a response that we're at least addressing it, as opposed to, like the individual said, what's next?
I mean, I could easily draft an email that just sort of updates them on our progress and say, it's being seriously considered, your comments are being heard. So sure, I mean, I'd be happy to do that.
I don't know if we need a motion for that, but
You don't, I'll
I
do
think
it.
we're all in agreement.
And I will,
I would think the commissioner should respond and say, thank you for your email. I'm forwarding this on to the appropriate people. I would hope a
Well-
commissioner is responding.
Amanda, that's a given. He's shared his responses with me, so I know they've all been responded to. But I think maybe it's a good idea just to let them know an update and that it's being considered. Commissioner Siegler is by no means ignoring them. He's provided very thoughtful and detailed responses. including that this board is considering their comments. So.
One last pickleball word, at least out of me, is that it sounds like we as a board may want to make a research project. And it doesn't have to be a big effort, I don't think. Just get a sense of like what sorts of noise attenuation options might exist, and I haven't a clue. And then consider that in the context of future CIPs, or if it's not something that raises to the CIP dollar amount level, whatever. I don't know what the it is, so I can't say anything intelligent about the it, but I'd be curious, and and certainly others are, and I'd be happy to help work on just doing some research, or maybe our friends at Gateway already know, or whatever.
You already have a developed phase 3 North Meadowcroft plan that's been engineered and has been on the CIP for the last couple of years. So that legwork of getting the layout grades, ability to plug and play some of these features may be more easily realized than something you would start from scratch. It's just something to consider.
No, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but I don't know. Again, I haven't looked at that recently, if at all. And it's been a while since I looked at the Parks Master Plan. But if noise attenuation from pickleball is already under consideration, then we're done. If not, I'd be curious as to what add-ons to the existing plan might be worthy of consideration, if any. And I don't know that there are any, but it seems worth looking at.
There are noise mitigation measures available. I mean, they could range from a wall, like you would see on the interstate, to maybe acoustic curtains that can be hung. I mean, I don't see a windscreen doing much, if anything. An acoustic curtain maybe, but those houses sit above the court surface. And, I'm not an acoustic engineer or anything, but we could ask. I don't see it logically helping all that much. But, there are certainly things that could be considered. There are noise reducing paddles and balls too, but getting compliance with that is probably not likely. And again, this is a national issue, and you could ask probably dozens of other communities that are ahead of us in this endeavor, what they've done, what worked, what didn't work. So there's things that can be done. I don't know what level of success.
So for
Others
the
have
sake of the layering of comments, does it make sense to maybe look at making a subcommittee of anyone that's interested in being a part of that? To do the research, look at mitigation, kind of put together a full-blown review for the next meeting, and we can come back and from the policies and permits and codes and options, this would be a lot more educated in making decisions.
I think that's an excellent suggestion.
So, again, I don't know if that needs a motion, but we can pull it together at the next meeting. If anyone's interested, we can do that.
Tom, I'll have a motion I move to have a subcommittee, a pickleball subcommittee of any interested members to do that, to do a deep dive in both the mitigating, deciding about the lights and when they should be turned off, and also like noise mitigation efforts. So if someone wants to second that.
I'll second.
Great. Thank you. I don't think there's any more old business going on to new business. David, do you want to handle that? The board recommendations for expanded funding in 2025 budget.
Before we roll on to that, I just looked up the code, so I want to tell you all what it says about opening and closing, if that's okay.
I would say no. I would say we should wait, but.
All right, then that's cool. Let's
We
wait.
just voted to do a subcommittee, so for the sake of that.
Okay, I don't want to steal the subcommittee's thunder.
Let's move on.
All right.
Right.
Who's on the subcommittee? Do we need to appoint people to be on the subcommittee so we have somebody actually taking action before the next meeting?
I think you do.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda. I'm happy to be on it.
It should be less than a quorum.
So we have three.
Up to 4 people.
I'm also happy not to be on it if other folks want to.
So we had Pat West. We had Mary Ann Banks. And Tom Sufchuk. Anyone else? Was that it? Awesome. Let us know what you figure out.
Okay, to move on. So I'm not sure, from a board recommendation, I'm sure we're all supportive of a bigger budget. But I'm not sure what the expanding budget looks like or the funding would look like. So you want to?
Sure. Let me stop sharing what I have up here for a sec. And share something different. Find the share button again. There we go. So before I talk about the board's project list, so this is an opportunity to recommend any project that's below the capital threshold of $100,000 as an expansion level in the operating budget. So the manager's recommended budget, like you could look at the 2024 budget online, and you'll see that it's organized by department and then by a subdivision of that department. So just using recreation as an example, recreation's budget is divided up between recreation management, that's just sort of the administrative arm or division of the department. It's got golf, it's got seasonal programs, it's got the rec center, which is further subdivided into ice rink, community rooms, swimming pool, and then the tennis center. So that's how it's organized. And then under each of those divisions, there's this is like a text document that would describe what it is. So we have the base level of, we call them service levels, that includes everything that's funded right now. And then there are several expansion levels. This is a big document. Phil and I we're not asking you to prioritize the department's budgets. That's our job. So we're not doing that. What we're looking for from you, from this group, and this is your first year, you might not have a consensus much at all on expansion level items this year. This might be something you're gonna dive into deeper next year, or maybe you do, I don't know. So just keep in mind, it's really for things that are under 100K that are something that the board collectively agrees is something that should be looked at and added to as an expansion level to the budget.
So David, can we use that as a fundamental baseline of our topic? So when we look at like project prioritization, I think the group would want to influence anything that's being done to say, yes, we support a $2 million. And I mean, whether they want that or not, that's more of a prioritization and support. I think the bigger part of it is recommendations to funding below capital budget of 100,000 changes the context historically where we're talking about roofs at the ice rink and we're talking about, tennis court, $1 million, $1.5 million. We were prioritizing those types of budgetary capital improvements to the township. If we look at things below 100,000, if we use that as our basis of focus and the things that we're gonna make recommendations, I think it's a really good basis for us to use moving forward of where we spend our time and energy to try to influence those decisions, whether it's an expansion level or whether there's a recommendation to the commission versus, stuff that's gonna happen. An ice rink replacement, I don't know, we can support that, but I don't know if we didn't support it, that it wouldn't happen.
So the commission wants, and one of your duties is to provide a capital prioritization and then a budget expansion. So those two things are part of your duties as board members. How you want to prioritize or work to support those, that's up to you. We're gonna do both. And Like I said, this year it's gonna be a little more challenging because it's the first year for this board. I don't know how familiar you are with our operating budgets and, or even the parks and what needs to be prioritized, or rec programs and what needs to be prioritized. This is a big, this is a big collection of projects and things to consider, so it's a lot. So I kind of like to, I would encourage you to focus on things that you know, maybe just from your perspective, that are necessary or have been requested in your circles. And then, you know, put them on the list and make a motion to approve those things. I pulled up the project list that we did last month, just so you could see there are actually two things on here that were below capital budget in nature. So you've kind of already have two things as expansion level recommendations on there. So you're one step ahead. But, you know, particularly maybe the people who've served on either parks or sports prior would have things like, you know, that they know, hey, this costs under 100K. I know this was popular. How about we consider this, you know, something like that. Because there's just, the budget document itself is too vast to try to tackle in one meeting. There's just too much there. And that's something that Bill, myself, and other staff are doing. So it's not that it's not being looked at. And frankly, a lot of what we put in there is based on feedback from community, or our Parks Master Plan, which is built based on community input and so on.
So the point A of 8 is recommendations for expanded funding.
I'm not understanding the question.
Which is board recommendations for expanded funding in 2025.
On the agenda.
Yeah, so 8A is, do you have anything to recommend? Yes. That's what we're looking
So
for.
can we for the next meeting, maybe another subcommittee would be to develop a list of projects that are prioritized based on capital improvements and those below, or are you just saying?
Unfortunately not, just by nature of the budget schedule, this is it, this is the window. I know it feels like you didn't really have adequate time, but you started the year in April, unfortunately. You know, you were 3 months, 4 months behind what will be next year. There's just a lot to pack in here,
I'm not sure we can be helpful.
David, sorry to interrupt. Could you scroll down a bit? Because since I'm remote, I'm only seeing up through row 7 there on what's.
Are these, yeah, and are there 4 and 5 the only things under 100,000 on our list?
correct.
Okay.
And to be clear, this is the list that was voted on last month
This is your approved
in
list.
priority. And 8A, are we voting to expand the budget for any dollar amount or under 100K?
Under 100K, you've already done capital.
Okay,
Yeah, and just by nature of the schedule and the start of this board, you know, in April, you know, this is why it might feel like this is really not enough time to consider, which is what I was kind of alluding to earlier.
So
Next year-
I'm sorry again, is there a row that says 8A miscellaneous or expansion of operating expenditures, or what? I'm
On your agenda, Tom, 8A is board recommendations for
Okay.
expanded funding in the 2025 budget.
okay, all right, I'm sorry, I'm with you.
You know, there's-
I was looking at the list from the minutes from last time.
You know, if there's
Right, that's
available
on the screen.
funding that would apply to that, or we just wishful thinking? I mean, is there money that if we came up with an idea that would be heard, that there is surplus to fund?
Sure, the commission typically there's some additions every year to the budget, expanded levels, yes.
So if we came up with the solution for this pickleball,
Yeah, like let's say you said acoustic curtains for pickleball at, I don't know, I'm just throwing something out here, $50,000. That could be an expanded level. If that was the majority decision of this board, yes.
So with that being said, based on the time frame of tonight to make that, and I'll frame this if someone makes the motion, but I would say, you know, the dollar value is subject to discussion, maybe $25,000 to invest in signage, any type of noise mitigation, anything that would address needs being on the positive and negative side of the pickleball in Meadowcroft. Or, you know, $25,000, or I'm not sure what the number would be, but if we're getting ahead of it, I would propose that we would
Yeah.
make a motion to invest money to address these needs. Whether it's new signage, whether it's,
In years past,
Sound.
is it typical that they recommend 3 expanded budget items, 5, 7, 8?
Well, here's the thing.
Zero? Is it a little bit?
I mean,
Yeah,
I would caution against making a recommendation just for the sake of doing it. Like, if there's no research for this, again, like I mentioned to the gentleman here, we have a Parks Master Plan. It has already prioritized a bunch of things in the park. So, like, to just say, hey, we're gonna throw a dollar figure on this, see what you can do. I don't know that that's really gonna be looked upon as a well thought out plan. You know, it's unfortunate that there's a problem and there's noise. I think we can do $0 things to start with to help with the noise. Or it's just that, you know, the noise continues until there's a better solution. You know, I just don't know that we're in a place where we have enough information to make a recommendation like that.
That's fair on the pickle course, but as far as these items, there looks like there has been some discussion years past on these items.
Right, so they're already prioritized and they're done. So what I would anticipate, and since these are both park related, and this is not my budget, this is not my responsibility to budget, but I would expect that, you know, between Phil and the Public Works Director, these are gonna end up as expanded levels. Unless, of course, Phil did mention that the forestry and invasives plan might be structured so that it's a capital item. I think that's being looked at. So I'm just mentioning that is a possibility that it wouldn't be.
But tonight's the only chance we have.
Tonight's the only chance for 2025 because that's
I think that what's happening here, if I'm understanding it correctly, is that we have items 4 and 5. We have the signage that Tom is from the sports advisory perspective has been, and I guess people from the Parks Board also have been working on for over a year. I don't know that there's a specific dollar amount, but like the next stage of the signs could be an item. And otherwise, I think we have to leave it up to the different departments that are going to go through the Parks Master Plan, pull out the items that are under 100,000 and add that to their list. I'm not sure we don't have the time or the information to make a full list. And we just have to go with the 2 things we have, plus the signs that we've worked on. If there's something else that I'm not thinking of that we've been working on. I guess the one is the proposal for the park and main entrance that the gentleman was there, I think last month or the month before, talking about. That's one small project. And then the pickleball. Those are really the only things kind of in our wheelhouse that we know anything about at this time.
No, I can suggest another one, and it would be in support of the item number 4, the implementation of forest and invasives. And this is coming from a discussion and a resolution from the Mount Lebanon Nature Conservancy, that the municipality earmark or set aside some amount of funding for it to purchase additional trees for the Conservancy and others to plant.
Are you talking about something in addition to number 4, or are you just talking
Yeah.
about?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I just.
And they like say $5,000, and that's, you know, that's range. And Ron Block it isn't on the at the meeting, obviously, but he was suggesting that, you know, the ability of knowledgeable folks such as Ron to work with Phil as we have so often in the past to say, we want, could you order us X number of trees from Tree Pittsburgh, which has, good sized trees at good prices. I know that the municipality has, and understandably so, a long-term procurement contract with a nursery in New York or Vermont or something, I forget the name of it. But this would be sort of in addition to that for, ongoing volunteer implemented, but municipally procured tree planting. I don't know what's in the 26-238 yet, because we haven't seen the ICOS report, but that's a discrete, useful chunk that the municipality could, invest in and have other folks, plant.
Phil, what's the budget for signs this year? I'm going back to Amanda's comment.
20,000 was rolled over,
Carryover.
a carryover, knowing that we were getting pricing in 24, which we did, so.
Okay, so we have 20K for signs this year. Do you have an expansion level in your budget for 2020,
Signage?
for 2025? Yep.
No, not at this, but we also just started working on operating, so.
Yeah, okay, so there's 20K. I just want Amanda to know, since she brought that up, there's 20K this year for signs.
Is that on?
It's already
there?
spent.
Lower, is that on there lower?
No, you did not. This was a capital list primarily, so there's nothing on here about that.
Of that 20,000, what does that cover in terms of the percentage of like the project that we had sort of laid out?
It covers the entire message schedule that was developed for the first phase.
Okay, so was there a second phase, and can we have that be funded as in 2025?
That would be something I think that would be added. In my opinion, there might be some design work with Colano, who created them, to find the next layer of signs, whether it be directional, wayfinding once you're in the parks, anything like that. So a second pass at it would have both, to me anyway, a little bit of contractual work, also mixed with procurement, of manufactured. So that is something that I can work on to put in there. And it's rightfully so the next phase to keep going with it, so.
Yeah, so I would recommend items 4, 5, and to add a phase 2 sign program. And those would be the 3 things that we have under $100,000. And we can call it a day, because this is like a not pointless exercise, but a very difficult one for us at this time.
Yeah. Tom, I think I understand your ask, and it doesn't seem complex or anything. You're looking for additional funding under the Public Works operating for the purchase of trees, additional trees out of what we already have.
Yeah, as I say, exactly, Phil. I don't know what's in that 26-238, but there were 31-238 with the municipality, procuring trees per the recommendations of the Conservancy and other stakeholders for the Conservancy and other volunteers to plant.
Do you have a dollar figure in mind, Tom?
Yeah, I suggested 5,000.
Okay.
In terms of scalable, when you're talking about plant material, you could scale that up and down with no questions asked. But
Yeah, that's not.
Science, to throw just a general number, it might not cover the scope of what we don't want to put a half finished product out there. So it's kind of 2 different worlds when you're talking for this, but I understood, I think, where you were going.
David, do we need to put a dollar value into this for this purpose?
Well, I'm just gonna ask Phil if he even is comfortable with an estimate of what would be needed for the additional design work and procurement. Do you even?
No, that's one of my jobs to do by the time operating is submitted for review.
Okay, so maybe if there's a motion, it would be more general, like to
So
invest
the
more in
motion
sign.
would be to address the design, the second layer of design.
We'll just continue
Continue that.
the sign,
Second
the
sign.
new sign, what do we call it? The new sign,
Standard.
and wayfinding that's,
Yeah.
been in the parks, something.
Yeah, the first go was get at least one sign identifying a park. I'm sure you all know fields, parks, there's some of them have 8 different entrances, so this would be something considered in the next phase. It's not to oversign, but tastefully look at it, step back and
And
say,
you don't think it requires a dollar value from us to send?
no, I think as my role and what I do here is to get that.
All right,
Is
can I do the motion then, or are we?
Hang
Sure.
on, is this captured in the first bullet in your administrative report? Is this a continuation of that?
It would be a continuation of that, yeah.
Second phase is.
Second phase, additional, we could call it,
Yeah,
It was
Multi-
signage and wayfinding, I
Yeah.
think is what we were calling it, in the parks, park
That's in the
signage. and
master
wayfinding.
plan.
that's
Yeah,
extensive.
exactly, and that's why I think that makes good sense. It's already been discussed, it's in the
Yeah.
works, so we continue it and expand it.
To browse through the master plan and pull items out are, this is just me speaking, one of the most successful ways. Cause you can refer it back to the master plan, you can refer back to work that was done. That from there, you're just saying, we know what we gotta do. Why don't you stick these 3 together and call it this? So that's something that we do. But just if you have any other interests is kind of what we're very quickly going through tonight, unfortunately, with the time of.
Okay,
When
so
we're all-
Amanda, did you have a motion? Did you have a question?
Yeah, I have one quick comment and then a motion. My first comment would be, my understanding is we kind of need a big ticket item list and a little ticket item list. And I think, and we're unprepared for the little ticket item list. So next year, I think, because we all have already been formed in January, February, we should start looking at that Parks Master Plan, maybe put a subcommittee together to do that, to go through and pick, because you're right, it's already discussed, we know we need it, but we can help prioritize a list like that if we have the list of things sort of in front of us. It's very difficult to sort of pull it out of the air. And to do the best we can tonight, I motion that we have a list of 4 items under $100,000, items 4 and 5 from the list below. Phase 2 of the sign would be number 3, and the 4th one would be the additional trees that the Nature Conservancy recommends planting, and I think that was about $5,000. But could be changed based on what Phil comes up with.
Okay,
I'll second
So
that. If
that
that
was
was
the motion,
yes.
and do we have a second?
second,
I don't want to steal your line here, Tom.
What's that?
All those in favor?
Oh, yeah. All, any nay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
aye,
That Parks Master Plan is available online. It shows you the 200 and some items to pick away at. Very user-friendly document. So if you haven't yet, please do.
Excellent. 8B, consideration of changing the board's meeting time. I know we've discussed 6 o'clock as a challenge for most. Is that something that we do offline, David, or is it something we can address now in terms of, I know we don't have everybody here, but is there flexibility to a start time other than 6 p.m.?
I think there is probably flexibility. I haven't heard any objections from the commission, so I think you should talk about, if there's consensus, then do a motion for a time and see if there's a second and vote, and then I bring it to the commission. Well, I'll bring it to the manager, who will bring it to the commission. And the commission will say you can do it or not. The only thing beyond that is I would have to re-advertise this board's meeting with a new time, because we did all the boards collectively at 6 p.m. at the beginning of the year. If that is okay by the commission, I'm happy
So
to do it.
is there a motion at this time by anyone to change the time?
I'll move to change the time to 7 p.m.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sounds like the motion carries. I will bring that to the manager's attention, and as soon as I have a decision, you'll hear back from me, but I mean, if no news means we're still at 6 p.m. or unless I hear yay or nay. So how about that?
Excellent.
That makes sense.
Eight,
I'll let you know when I know.
8C is forestry and invasive management plan, and there's a package that was included tonight, May of 2024. not sure what it's just a review, it's a conversation, it's obviously a lot of data. This is just for our reviews or comments.
So, why you have this in front of you, it was a big effort, that took well over a year to come up with this. This is not the document, this is the meat and potatoes of the document. As far as a quick scan, end products was somewhere around 155 page plan, that was very well thought out. Broke the general overview, quickly, but this is also in, the share drive under this month's meeting. You can find the entire 100-some page report and go through. Feel free to send me any emails, questions. The contractor, Okios Ecology, he met with the commission the second meeting in May and presented the final report to them on a very high level in terms of, the later pages that give you the budget breakdown per year of what you're looking to invest based on his findings, his breakdown of each park, and his plan to tackle all those contractually. So the plan does include volunteer efforts, public works efforts, collaborations amongst all three, contractual, everybody is involved in this plan. This is not just a one-sided thing that we can hand to a contractor and walk away. The three parks that this took a dive into was Twin Hills, Rob Hollow, and Bird Park. They're three major passive parks. We broke each of those parks down into sections. Basically told us what's wrong in each section, how to fix it, and what that's gonna cost you. So some of the key items in this, that are printed here for you to review are some of the means and methods. Also some of the, plantings which he recommends. This isn't just someone looking through a list and says, these are good. This is current time, different, climate zones have changed. There's trees that have done well years and years that we're no longer seeing success with. So this is an up-to-date version of a great plan to tackle this. So where this lives in the CIP for the moment. The first year of it, you can see on that budget page, is a $26,000 cost. The years following that, you can see it's a substantial investment. So can read about the difference means. Some of them we're talking about fencing in entire sections of parks to get deer out, to let the forest canopy recover. Tons of planting, tons of invasive removal. Most importantly highlighted is retreatments, re-inspections of these sites. That takes people, eyes, time, also known as money. So that's why you see these values where they're at. There's also a contingency built in for project management in this. This may not be something that the public works staff can tackle and follow up after each day. I started off in the back of the library. I ended up 3 buildings over looking at a frozen AC unit today. That's how our life goes. So to say that we could just chunk this thing out and roll with it, there's money built in here for project management, which is why you see higher costs as well. To me, that just means success of the project. But if you have any questions on this, very long read. But he also has sections with great highlights on budgets, means and methods, ton of reference documents. It's very well done. He did a great job presenting. So it lives in the CIP. I don't know if it might get pushed to operating based on the first year, but there'll be discussions, and this management plan is in the funding mechanisms for consideration this year. So that was a goal of ours to make sure it was in. It will be in.
Anything you need from us on this time?
No, you've recommended it. It's with the text in the CIP says the ranking number. And from there, we'll let commission manager, directors, kind of look at all these across the board, across all departments. So it's in the ring, I would call it.
Excellent. 8D, consideration of park proposal for main entrance, Lebanon Hills Parklet. David or Bill, you want to give us an overview of what is?
A citizen shared this during public comments at the last meeting. Amanda asked for it to be added. It's up on the screen for your consideration. Again, this is in the SharePoint site as well, so hopefully you've had a chance to review it, and the citizen did a very nice job presenting and sharing it. It is a nice plan, I guess, just my only comment is that, again, back to the park master plan, this is a very new concept, so this hasn't been prioritized in the Parks Master Plan. But it's nonetheless here for your discussion. So I'll turn it over to Amanda.
Yeah, I just thought we should have anybody provide any sort of comments. They're thinking about it. I suppose we could add it to the list we just approved, but I think there's a lot of things on the Parks and Master Plan that maybe should come first. Is there a way to add things to the master plan, or does that happen when they redo it in another however many years?
I mean, we can amend an approved plan, but that doesn't mean that worthy projects don't come along in between plans.
Okay.
You know, this, like, let's say if the board felt that this was really a high priority and this should happen ahead of other projects, then I think eventually it would wind up on your capital projects list. You know, some other mechanism to move it forward, like a formal recommendation for it to be, you know, looked at and studied by staff and the engineers. I mean, there's a lot that could happen. So it's really a matter of, you know, where does this fall in line with other priorities?
Personally, just a few comments about the project itself. I really like the idea of the sort of, I don't mind the plantings in the park and the seating, that's all nice. The fitness center component I thought was nice, that it's kind of a walkthrough. Where this is located, a lot of people are walking to, running through that area, and it's could be a place where you know, are on a run or a walk and you stop and do some of the fitness components. I've seen that in other places where it's well utilized. The component of the plan I'm less excited about is the fountain. I think that's sort of a nice to have, not need to have thing, but I would be a proponent of some of the other enhancements, particularly the fitness part of it.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the numbers here. And it looks like the resident is suggesting that this is a total of about 20K. I don't know if he itemized the fountain here, but
I think it was
yeah,
down.
he did. So you could, and if you weren't in favor of that, I mean, this, if I don't know how accurate the numbers are.
He said it's not accurate.
Oh, okay.
He
He
said
was
it's
taking the best guess, I think, at the time.
very confident in the numbers. And I don't see the really redeeming value of spending money on the project personally. I don't see that it's gonna be a huge lift. And we have parks like that all throughout the town. So we're gonna have to consider, if people wanna do this here, then we might have to be making decisions on these elsewhere as well. So, yeah, I think we have other things, bigger fish to fry, personally.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Seems like it's kind of a small audience for it.
All right, any further discussion at this time? Okay. 9, announcement of the next meeting date and time. The next regularly scheduled meeting for the Mount Lebanon Parks and Recreation Advisory Board is Wednesday, July 17th, 2024 at 6:00 p.m., subject to change to 7 p.m. All municipal meetings have a Zoom webinar component to enable residents to attend meetings virtually. So David, you'll confirm if that will change to 7, otherwise we'll be here at 6.
Correct.
Okay, anything else? Pat, just go around the room real quick, anything, just
No,
Natalie?
thank you,
Yeah.
great.
Just,
Thanks for keeping us
how
on
we'll
track.
form this subcommittee, you know, how we'll kind of move forward. What do you normally do with subcommittees? you know, with other, you know, maybe Tom can answer this question, you know,
I
how do you
think-
want it
I thi-
forward?
Yeah, I think you want to just kind of get, I would say start with email and get on an email chain, the 3 people that are going to do it and kind of divide and conquer the tasks. And then you're kind of just on your own in terms of how, if you want to meet in person or if you want to just do it over email and whatever it needs to happen to get some information to the board for the next meeting.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm actually out of town for the rest of this week, but when I get back into town, I'll contact folks and we can either set up a Zoom or a Teams meeting or meet at the coffee shop or something and go from there.
Hey, Tom, while you're talking, anything else to share?
No, I'm good. Thank you, folks. I'm
Fine.
very good.
David, I had a question for you on the 2 golf course projects that I talked to Colin about. What's the status of, has engineering work been done or will be done
You're talking about the forward
or the
tee.
tee boxes and the level? That's the
And
number
what was the
one,
other part of it?
the leveling of the tee boxes.
Yes, there, I mean, so there's been some engineering done. I mean, we're not gonna fully engineer a project until it's approved. But yes, we have assigned it a dollar value. It's been reviewed
It's over
with the
100,000
engineer.
each of them.
Each tee?
No, each of the 2 projects.
Off the top of my head, I have no idea what the dollar amount is. But I can tell you it's in the CIP.
Okay, so does that mean it's less than 100,000?
No, the CIP is the capital improvement plan, so everything in there is 100,000 or more.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the threshold,
Okay, it's in there.
so, yep.
Amanda?
I'm good.
Okay, Phil? David?
Okay.
With that, we will adjourn at 7:30 p.m., 7:32 or 7:31.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom, for filling in.
Problem.
Good, everyone.